I open the floor to any questions you've got. Yeah, mate.
What happens when you've got, I guess, problems with the law and that sort of thing? Do you shoot and ask questions later? Do you do something that you think might be risky, and then just stand back and see what happens?
Okay, the question was, and this is podcast, the question was, when it comes to the law, do I shoot first and then ask questions later? Okay. I do ask questions first. I love to enable organisations to generate income, the kinds of income that you can get when you run a bar. I'm sure this bar knows when it's pumping how much money they can make, and I know that a lot of not-for-profit organisations and a lot of very reputable charities would love and do love me to turn up and set up bars for them. At the moment, I'm trying to negotiate a licence whereby I'll be able to do that at short notice. But I have to say to organisations that ask me to put kegs on at their events, if they ask me less than 2 months before the event, which is pretty standard, I have to say, look, mate, I'm sorry, I can't negotiate a liquor licence between now and then. So I have had to walk away from some gigs. I just tell them, look, set up a little donation sign and buy boxes of Cooper's long necks. It's pretty much all I can suggest you do, which is crap, and I'm working on that. But I have, I've been known to put kegs on at good mates' parties, and we have like a little special way of donating, and everyone sort of contributes, and it's a communal keg, and then everyone's happy because there's no rubbish anywhere in the party. Everyone drinks good beer, and it's great, No one makes any money out of it, but we break even. So when it comes to, I don't make stupid amounts of money without a liquor license, but I do enable people to reduce their environmental impact, because I firmly believe in Gaia over government, because I'm really disappointed in the state government of Victoria. It's corrupt and full of shit. Anyway, anyone else got a question? Yep.
So, how much are you interested in financial gains versus sustainability?
The question is, how much am I interested in financial gains versus sustainability? That's a really good question. I'm very excited about helping my dad's microbrewery and friends of mine who have microbreweries. I'm very excited about helping them achieve profit so that they can keep existing, so that one day maybe our microbrewery industry will be as healthy as it is in, say, America. Personally, I've never been that interested in money. My adage is easy come, easy go, enjoy the flow. And I was born into decadence. I was born into Australia. I've never needed money, and I know I'll if I remind myself about it, I'll never be poor. I think it's all relative, and a lot of us think that we're poor when there's a GFC or whatever, but it's rubbish. We're rich. We're all rich.
So do you plan to get more bikes?
Do I plan to get more bikes? I would. Yes, I already have a second bike, and I've got a good pool of great people who are very interested in setting up bars at parties. The problem is getting the liquor license right so I can franchise it. And when I say franchise it, it will probably be more like a non-hierarchical communal model. I am interested in doing the best thing for the environment, and the bigger my business is, and if anyone else wants to do what I'm doing, I'm more than happy to give them as much of my knowledge as I've got. And for me, the most important thing is that we all start drinking beer that's brewed with happy yeast, which means beer that's brewed over 6 weeks instead of one day, which is what our monopolistic competitor does. If people drink good beer, they don't get aggressive. You know, you'll never ever see someone drink a glass of craft brewed beer and then smash someone in the face. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. You'll never see someone drink microbrewed beer and hit someone. It just doesn't. It won't happen. It's just a happy yeast, happy people. Yep.
So you talk about like sustainability, but carbon-based sustainability. What about other stuff like organic, like buying organically grown crops and that sort of other, rather than just being a carbon-based sustainability.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that? Like, how do you see that, and how does it affect business as a brewer?
Yep. Okay. The question was, what other aspects of sustainability, not just carbon, but also chemical-free, organic, what aspects do I have in my business? I encourage brewers to source their grain from local farmers instead of overseas. A lot of the recipes of Buckley's brewery, Dad's brewery, were European and American based, and we've found a lot of locally grown hops and malted grains that replace that. There aren't any there aren't any large enough quantities of grain grown in Australia yet that are accredited organic. For me, the most important thing was chemical free and non-synthetic brew principles before I would start looking into organic grains. But you're right; it's very if you as a producer of food decide that all of your ingredients are going to be organic, that's going to filter down massively to the farmers and everyone else who produces this stuff to produce stuff without chemicals. It's a really good point, and it's something that I'm looking into for sure. Thanks. Good question. Yep.
You talked about social media and using that as a way to publicise yourself.
Yep.
What's been your hits and misses for publicising yourself using social media?
Okay, question was, what's been hits and misses for me publishing myself in social media? Hits. I guess the hit is that a lot of people in Melbourne know what I do now. Misses. I guess a miss would be a situation where I put a keg on at a mate's house party and he wants it to be open because he's DJing and he wants everyone there, and we've got a bar running that would be selling beer for money, and next thing you know, there's the powers that be deciding that they're there to save the world and shut things down because of the fact that it's been publicised. That's a miss. What's another miss? I don't think you can miss. I think you can if you don't have a strategy where you can miss. You've really got to think about whether you want to be a professional person in that sphere, or do you want to be that crazy go-to guy for parties in that sphere. And that's something that I'm sitting down with a social media expert at the moment, and we're sorting things out, and we're splitting my business into two things, and mainly because I want to be more effective at making an environmental difference, and I'll be able to do that if people can take me seriously, and they can't really take you seriously if you're in court, I guess. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes.
What's the rest of the sort of beer and beverage market like?
Companies like Mountain Goat are wonderful. They're an inspiration for me. They put solar panels on their brewery way before I was back in Australia, and they do their thing very professionally, very quietly. They don't really have a catering side of things. You can get kegs from Mountain Goat, but the problem with kegs, and the reason why not many people put kegs on in their parties, is that notoriously and traditionally and I guess most of the time, they are really difficult to manage unless you've got the right gear. I've got really good gear, so I put amazing kegs on all over the place. What are other people doing? There's Otway Estate to the west of Melbourne. They do fantastic things in the Otways. There's all sorts of new exciting breweries that are doing great things. Yep, and as far as the big boys go, there's what can I say? Can I be honest? I can say what I want. Oh, great. Well, basically, as far as I'm concerned, Cascade Green's a total wank. If they wanted to do environmentally good things, they would have put solar panels on their brewery, because the biggest expense in brewing beer environmentally is heating and cooling liquids, and you can do that with natural means very, very, very easily. And basically what Cascade Green did is that they bought electricity from the tip next door, which could have been provided to Launceston, or whatever city's next. I think it's Launceston. Sorry? Hobart. Is it? Cascade. Oh yeah, sure, of course. Sorry. I do know what I'm talking about. So Cascade could have been providing electricity for Hobart. They could have actually enabled the tip next door to the brewery to provide electricity to Hobart through burning methane, which is what the tip does. But instead, they've used that electricity to produce the heating for the beer, which is stupid, because they could have A, produced electricity, and B, produced a hell of a lot of heat with evacuated heat tubes, which is all you need for brewing beer, is heat. And, my dad's got a small brewery, he's got no money whatsoever, but he's able to preheat all of his liquids to 80 degrees or 75 degrees just from the sun before he starts. And his energy costs are massively reduced compared to the way they would be if he hadn't put those solar panels on. And it wasn't a massive expense. He didn't even get a rebate, and it's not a massive expense. And I just don't understand why there's such a massive industry for offsetting. You know, like it's stupid. It's like there's that great spoof that those two dudes did in England, all about offsetting your relationships. You know, like you pay for someone else to be monogamous so that you can fuck whoever you want. You know, and then you pay, and then basically it's all right because they've been monogamous and you paid for them to be monogamous, so your relationship's fine. Have you seen these guys? Anyway, it's a joke. You know, you don't offset until you've got no other choice. And Cascade Green just offset from the start. So I don't know. I think that's rubbish, and that's pretty much all the big boys have done. You know, I've got mates who've been talking to Foster's, and Foster's aren't keen on getting any sort of solar panels on. I don't know what that is. I think it's something to do with big business not wanting to facilitate environmentally aware businesses because they don't like the status quo to be challenged. And as soon as everyone gets on board with renewable energy, the status quo will be challenged, and maybe the big businesses are thinking that they'll lose their space. That's my little... But I mean, I don't really spend much time on it, you know. I spend my time trying to run my business.